All right, so we're still on Unit 4, Lesson 4, the bottom of the second page. Let me finish this one here. It says factor. We notice that there is a number in front of the x squared. We check and see if it's a GCF. Does anything come out? You take the 5 out of the 10, but you can't take a 5 out of the 27, so no, there's not a GCF, so you're stuck with that 10 in the front. So if there's a 10 in the front, that means this is a harder one of the three-term factoring ones, so we want to do the AC method, which turns a three-term into a four-term. Sorry. Term. Okay. So what do we do to do that? We take the A and multiply it by the C. So 10 times 5 is 50. And then factors of 50. Sorry, you probably can't read that. Factors of 50 that bring us to 27. Now, I do one more thought here. This is a negative and then a positive. So my answer is going to have two negatives in it. All right, I think that's important because what I want to think about are factors of 50 that will add to a 27. I know everything here says negative, but a negative plus another negative gives you a bigger negative. So I'm still adding factors together. So let's think of all the factors of 50. 1 and 50. 2 times 25 equals 50. And there's not many here. 5 times 10 equals 50. That's it. All right, so I need two factors that will add up to. That's a 51. That's a 27 right there. They are two factors of 50 that add up to my B, or my middle number. So 2 and 25. I don't have to put them in that order, but I can. So I just... And what they are your new middle terms. Make sure you get them both negative. Okay, you could put plus or minus 2x, but it looks confusing. So just leave it like that. And then you're going to factor it like a four term. So we divide it in half between the second and third term, and you make sure that sign stays with that third term. Okay, don't chop that off. All right, back to the first half. What is the greatest common factor? What is the greatest? So they both have a 2. We're going to take that out. They both have an x. We're going to take that out. So what's left with is 5x minus 1, right? Go over here, write the same thing. And what do I take out of the negative 25x plus 5? That'll give me 5x minus 1. Well, the signs are wrong, so I know I'm taking out a negative something. And if I take it out negative 5, that would work. Negative 25 divided by 5 is a negative 5, okay? And then once I'm there, the greatest common factor between this term and this term is 5x minus 1. And then what's left, you put in the parentheses. So that's my answer to that, okay? All right, next page, 3-term. Can I take anything out? Let's see. Can't take a 2 out of the 15 because it's not even. Can't take a 3 out of the 8 because 3 doesn't go into 8. So no, we have to stick with that. Okay? So if we have to keep all those numbers, we have to use the AC method. So 8 times a negative 15. Don't forget that negative goes with that. That's going to give me a negative 120. Factors of negative 120 are supposed to equal negative 26. Now, if I have a negative and then another negative, my signs are going to be positive, negative, okay? I can put the negative over here versus over here. Some people are having a hard time with that, so I'm going to put the negative over here because I'm thinking about this thing. If you have a negative in your problem, so our problem is like this one, then this says you're going to have one positive and one negative. So people like to keep that in order. So they put a negative and then a negative. I mean, a positive and then a negative. Okay, so positive and then a negative. See that? So then when we think about our factors, and I don't make this negative, it's just factors of 120 to me. And when I think about the 120, these are factors that are going to be 26 apart. So there are a lot of factors of 120. If you can't think of them all, remember you can always go like this. And to me, this is 12 times 10, okay? So 12 is a 2 and a 6, which is a 2 and a 3, and a 2 and a 5. So there's a lot of factors of 120. So let's see, 1 times itself, don't forget 1 is always a factor. There's a 2, and all the rest is 60. There's a 3. If you use a 3, then there's a 4. 8 times 5 is 40. All right. There is a 4. I don't see a 4 here, but 2 times 2 is 4. And then what's left is 3 times 2 times 5. So that's 30. All right. There is also a 5 here. And then that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, which is 8 times 3 is 24. Then because there's a 2 and a 3, there's a 6. 6 times everything that's left is 2 times 5 is 10 times 2 is 20. Can't make a 7, but you can make an 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. What's left is 15. Goodness, you can do a 10 and a 12, and I think that's everything. That's a lot. And then I forgot what I was doing. So let me go back up here. I had a positive and a negative factor. So I want 2 factors that are 26 apart. 26 apart. So I could have stopped way back up here, but I didn't notice. So 4 and 30. So that means the 30 is going to be negative. The 4 is going to be positive. That's going to give me a negative 26. So that means I'm putting the 30 here because I already put that negative there and the 4 over there. So I did all that so I can rewrite the problem with new middle terms. Okay, so I took out the 4x, and what I'm left with is 2x plus 1. Go over here, 2x plus 1. How do I get a 30 into a 2? 2 into 30, and then the signs are wrong, so I'm taking out a negative, would be 15. Okay. That's going to get me the 2x plus 1. And then these are the same, so 2x plus 1. And then what goes back in the parentheses is everything that's left. Okay. So that's the answer to that one. The other thing that I like is slide and divide. I'm just going to take a little bit of room here to do that. You don't have to. Some people like it, some people don't. Please feel free to look at videos for something else. But the slide and divide actually takes that 8 and slides it out of the way and multiplies it by the c. So you're still doing an AC, but you're putting it back in the problem. So I've manipulated the problem so I can do a guess and check on it. Okay, negative negative means a positive negative. And now I need factors of 120 that are going to be 26 apart. So I cannot avoid this step no matter how I do it. No matter what you're picking, you still need to find 2 numbers that will multiply to C and add to B, whatever you're doing. Okay, so that doesn't avoid that. But down here we proved it was 4 and 30. So right now I'm just showing you the slide. I took this and I slid the 8. Okay. Then when I get here, I'm going to divide the 8 back. All right. Reduce my fractions. Took me a minute. Some people don't like this method because it makes fractions on purpose and then you got to reduce them. But the good news is if you have fractions left, you just slide them back. Did I do something wrong? 4 into 8. Oh, that's a 2. I was going to say it's not 2. 4 over 8 reduces by 4 and gives you 1 over 2. So when you slide it back, your final answer is 2x minus 1 or plus 1 and then 4x plus 15. So that's it's just as long, and you need to know 4 term for the test anyway. So that's just That's the other method. Slide and divide. All right, so let's try this one. Let's go back to our AC method. This has a lot of stuff in it. Let me check for a GCF. I don't see one. Is this the proper order for two variables? A square on the end and a square on the end and no constant. Yes, that is the proper order for two variables. All right. If I was doing a guess and check with it, I could set that up, but I'm not, because there's a number in front of the x squared that's not a 1. So let's just follow the AC. 4 times -5 equals -20. Something plus something is going to equal, what is going on here? This is a -1, right? -1. Factors of -20, and then, let's see, a negative and negative means there's a positive and a negative going on. So that means they're going to be subtracted. That means factors of 20 that are 1 apart. Well, how about 4 and 5, right? So to get a leftover, that would be 5 and that would be 4. I know this one looks weird. That's probably why I put it on there. Make sure you follow procedure and don't get sidetracked here. All right, those are my new middle terms with two variables. Divided in half. And I could have put -5 first and then 4. But it's the 5 that has to be negative wherever you put it, okay? If I did it this way, 4 comes out and the x comes out. You're left with what? X plus y. Go over here, x plus y. You take out a -5. So your final answer is, x plus 4, 4x minus 5. The order of these is unimportant too. This is equal to 4x minus 5 times x plus 4. That's fine. In fact, if I had put this -5 first and this 4 first, I would have gotten that as an answer. So either order, but notice the signs are very particular. There's no making that up, okay? Let's try this one. These are big numbers. Can something come out? In fact, I don't know how to factor anything with a 3. So let's take out, what can we take out? I know I can take out an A. It looks like I can take out a 3. If I take out a 3 and see what's left, I can see if there's anything else I would have taken out. These numerical coefficients don't have anything in common, so that was the largest, greatest common factor that I could have taken out. And even after I take it out, I'm still left with a number greater than 6 in front of the A, so I'm going to have to do the AC method with it. So for a moment, I'm just going to kind of ignore my greatest common factor. I just know that's going to go in my answer at the end. So I'm just going to kind of not think about that for a minute. So what I need to do is take my 6, which is my A, and multiply it by my C. So 6 times -10 is a -60. And then factors of -60 that are going to give me an 11 if I add? Let's see, I have a plus and a minus. So this would be a plus and a minus. So that means factors of 60 that are 11 apart. Factors that are 60 that are 11 apart. I don't see it yet. What else is in a 60? Let's see. 60 is 6 and 10, 2 and 3, and 2 and 5. So there's definitely a 4 in there. There's a 4 in a 60. 2 times 2 is 4. Do you see how I'm doing that? Any combination of these 4 numbers give you a 60. Any combination. Okay, so if I do 2 times 2, I'm going to be left with 15. If I do a 5, I'm going to be left with 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12. Sorry for this, not straight line. And that's times 10. Is there anything else? I think that's everything. All right, what was I looking for again? I was looking for 2 numbers that are 11 apart. That was back up here. So let's see. That would have to be a positive 15 and a negative 4 to get a positive 11. So 4, 15. Okay, so let's put this back. 6a squared plus 15a minus 4a minus 10. Okay? Divide it in half. I can take an A out and what, a 3A? Another 3A. That's confusing. I'm ignoring this 3A. It's just coincidentally the same thing. Greatest common factor out of the first two is another 3A. So I'm left with 2A plus 5. 2A plus 5, which means I need to take out a negative 2. So my final answer is 3A from back up here, 2A plus 5 from the greatest common factor here and here, and then what's left is 3A minus 2. That's a tricky one. All right, let's try this one. No greatest common factor comes out. Got to keep the 7. 7 times negative 30 is negative 210. Oh my goodness. This plus this equals 23. Positive and negative mean positive and negative. That means they have factors of 210 that are 23 apart. 210 is a 21 and a 10. That's how I did that, because it ends in a 0. 10 has to go into it. So that's a 3 and a 7 and a 2 and a 5. So all those together make 210. So all the different combinations of those numbers. So 210, let's see, that's 1 and 210. 2, if I take the 2, that is a big number, 105. Use your calculator. Take the 2 out of the 10. 210 divided by 2 is 105. There's also a 3 in a 210. What's left is 1070, okay? And is there a 4? You cannot make a 4 out of a 3, 7, 2, and 5. So not a 4. I don't know why this ends up curvy. Take out a 5, though. 6 times 7 is 42. Take out a 6 because there's a 3 and a 2. And 35 is left. That's the 7 and the 5. You can take out a 7. And then what's left is a 10 and a 3, which is 30. Can't take out an 8 or a 9. That might be it. What was I looking for? Number factors that are 23 apart. 23 apart. That's that one. So I'm good for that. There's probably more, but I don't need to find them all. That's not the point. So 7 and 30 have to go in here to get a positive 23. So the negative is the 7 to get you in positive 23. So 7 has to go there and 30 has to go there because I had chosen earlier to put my negative there. Okay, that's the only reason. Write my new problem. Oops. That's a negative. I think it'd be too confusing to put plus a negative 30, but you can. Minus 30. Oh, I need the x, right? This right here had to equal 23x, and it does. All right, I'm going to divide it in half, take out an x. Is left me with an, 7x plus 30. Go over here, 7x plus 30. That means I'm only taking out a negative 1. All right, the signs are off. Everything else is good. So final answer, 7x plus 30 times x minus 1. All right, oops, got more to do here. May have to put this on another one.